Welcome to the first episode of Washed in the Wild. I am joined here by my son Reyer and good friend Dan Holland and his boy Gentry. We are pretty excited about this because we're just a bunch of we're probably abnormal, but we're normal individuals that spend a lot of time in the outdoors and have a great deal of faith as well, and that's all tied to this. And so we just want to share our experiences and hopefully help some folks that maybe want to get involved in the outdoors or have questions or don't know why guys like us do what we do. And so we've got a million different topics we'd like to cover, but today we're just going to basically talk about why the show is important to us and why we want to share and why the outdoors is important to us. So I'm going to lead off and just take a stab at this. This is our first time, so don't keep your expectations low as we get started because we're all new at this. And so my experience in the outdoors started, and actually, you know what? Why didn't one of you guys cut me off? Dan, why don't you open with prayer for us?
You got it. Father, thank you so very much for the opportunity that we get to come before you to share the passion that you instilled in us. We're so blessed to live where we do, to exist when we do, and to be able to enjoy your created wonder as fathers and sons, and as sons of you, Lord. What a blessing that is. So guide us as we go through the show and bless this time that we spend together, Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Dan. So you guys got to be better about catching that when we get started. The outdoors for me, I don't know any better, to be honest with you, when it comes to the outdoors. I grew up in a family that, we were on a small farm. We worked that farm, and our recreation was the outdoors. It was hunting and fishing. I mean, if we weren't working on the farm, we were, chopping down trees to get porcupines out of trees because we could get up. There was a bounty back then on a porcupine nose, So I don't know any better. And so I think it's different for a lot of the younger generations today. And not even younger people. I came to hunting because that's just what you did. It was food. It was family and the outdoors. And that's, I just don't know any better. And so there are people today that, want to get involved, and they're probably coming for a safe source of protein. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily for the same reasons that I did, and they want that safe source of protein, but I think they're intimidated by it. And so we're hoping that this show helps with that. We're hoping that people maybe will reach out to us and we can help them get started, because you don't need the best gun. You don't need the best clothes. You don't have to shoot a trophy animal. And we'll talk about that in the future, about the evolution of a hunter and where I am versus where Gentry is, in this, and the in-between of Dan and Reyer. And so the biggest thing for me personally is that the outdoors is the only place that I can actually relax. Like, work's gone, problems are gone.
Agreed.
It's just simply, I can relax and focus on one thing. And the things that we get to see, the things that Reyer and I have seen, anything from sunsets that'll blow your mind to, a bobcat trying to get his meal off some prairie chickens that absolutely abused him and used him. And then after he realized he was not going to get a prairie chicken, he got chased by a couple of does, Yep. And so we see these amazing, glorious things, and they can't happen without God. Amen. Nobody could create that. And so I guess I'm in awe most of the time when I'm out there. Frustrated as all get out someday.
Yeah, I was gonna say, for being a relaxing activity, it can really drive you nuts at the same time, but it's in a good way. So.
Yes. And so and family, right? I mean, I grew up, and Reyer mentioned this earlier when we were talking, getting ready for the show, is that I grew up deer hunting. Everything stopped. It was the only day, opening day of deer season, my dad took off from work. It was the only day we were allowed to miss school. And it wasn't just our family itself. It was extended family and friends all getting together. And everything stopped for those weekends after opening day. And so, yeah, it was about family, and I'm very blessed and fortunate to have the same thing happen still today. We have the entire family, at least for one weekend, if not 2 or even 3 weekends of our deer season here in North Dakota, and we're all together. And honestly, that's probably what I enjoy the most about it, and helping new people that want to get started. And we'll bring some of those people on and probably give them a bit of a hard time.
A little bit, just a little bit.
And Dan can't speak because you'll hear this multiple times throughout the show, however long it may last, and Dan will hear it the rest of his life, is that he is literally the one that lost the largest walleye I've ever seen in my entire life by a rookie mistake. So we're all pretty good at our rookie mistakes. And so, the one thing that I took a few notes just because I want to, kind of stay on track, because I'm really good at getting off topic. The book of Genesis talks about, and I'm summarizing that God created all living things, and He gave man dominion over those living things, whether those are fish or insects or deer or moose or whatever the animal or creature might be. But with that dominion comes responsibility. And I'm a wildlife biologist by training. I've been blessed to spend my entire life in the outdoors. My career at this point is always centered around conservation and the outdoors. And so that is a huge responsibility for us, that, He did give us dominion, but He also gave us a huge responsibility to take care of that. Whether that's abiding by laws, and we'll get into that in the show too, right? I mean, as far as management of wildlife and so on. And so that's I don't know, guys, like, jump in, just somebody grab a hold.
Going off what you said, I didn't take any notes. I didn't know we were doing notes today. I wasn't informed. But I had the same kind of part of Genesis in my mind. And I think it's important for everyone to know that, like, it's our duty as, mankind, as humans, to respect and, use properly this resource God has given us, whether that's fish, animals, whatever it is. Like, I feel like what you were talking about, there's a lot of young people now who are, like, scared to get into this because they see all these bad shades of hunting on the internet or hear about it or whatever, and that is misusing it. I mean, that's any other resource. That's what it's about. So I think it's why I wanted to do this, is just show people that, like, why we do this, how you're supposed to go about this, whether it's hunting, whatever it is, being in the outdoors. But yeah, I think that's my main reason for doing this.
Well, we didn't tell you about the notes because you're the youngest, and that's how you learn. So, we all got together and said, "Don't tell Gentry."
Yeah. We just assume that in school you actually take notes. So I'm going to talk to your teachers about that.
You just punch in AI now. You don't even need to do any of that. But if anybody wants to check out those verses, I happen to write them down. That's Genesis 1:28 and Genesis 9:3 about the dominion and the giving us the creatures to eat specifically, because that's one thing that people like to bring up, kind of like in opposition to hunting, is that that original verse where He gives us the creatures, the crawling things, doesn't explicitly say that they're there for us to eat, but in Genesis 9 it's pretty much clear.
It's pretty clear.
So I mean, I think that's something to keep in mind, is sometimes you don't always see what you're looking for in the verse that somebody mentioned. So it's good to have a couple different ones to refer to, but
Yeah, like anything, it's pay attention to the whole story of
Right.
the scripture versus picking one verse out and saying, well, look at that right there. There's the creation story is such an amazing, it's the greatest event in history, right? And when we get to experience just a small little sliver of the created awesomeness that is the outdoors, whether it's winter, whether it's springtime and you guys hunting turkeys or wintertime on ice, right? It's all a seasonal connected thing, and what an amazing experience that we get to go and observe. And in my opinion, you're just ignorant if you can't see God and the connectedness of this all, and that's one of the big things why I'd like to. What I want to share about this show is one is it's a way to share your faith. It's a way to share the passion that you have for the outdoors. Some of us as outdoorsmen, it can go too far, and I don't know if we've all been. Well, I've been there. I'll say that, where it's become more important than anything. And if I'm honest, it's the day before I get to go fishing for the first time, or the fishing or the hunting opener, deer season, right? That excitement that you get and you experience, and I don't think that's anything you should be ashamed of. But at the same time, it's it can't be that most important thing in the world, because you miss those little things, like you said. If it's all about trouncing around and trying to shoot a deer or a bunch of pheasants or whatever it might be, you're gonna miss the bobcat, or the coyote or whatever it might be, northern lights and all that amazing thing. So,
If you see Dan shaking, by the way, on camera, it's because he's going ice fishing for the first time tomorrow. So he's kind
speaking
of
from his feelings.
Yeah,
Yes. I'm so excited.
He's a little nervous, or excited, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you can't break through once it hits 2 inches. So.
No. Well, you
Pretty
might be able to.
That was sarcasm for the people.
yeah, let's make sure we.
I've
Yeah,
been working
no,
out
no,
a little
no.
bit, so maybe I'm just kidding. I haven't been doing that at all.
4's my limit.
Yeah, what did they? I think Game and Fish. I don't want to misquote, so don't take my word for it. But I think they said like 12 inches holds a semi.
Yeah.
But that's not like you would go drive a semi on 12
Correct.
inches.
No.
Well, and the other thing is that if you don't know the water, like there's springs, there's
Yeah,
currents and stuff like that. So, we had an experience on Alkaline where, you drill one hole and there's 3 feet of ice, and the next hole there's 1.5 foot, and then the next one there's 2 inches. So,
Yeah.
just be careful out there. We're joking about it a little bit because we spent a lot of time out there, but so I think some people probably push the envelope just a little too far.
Which
That's where the obsession comes in, I think.
Yeah, correct. The obsession, and I'm not advocating this, but I think that's another thing that we all get out is it's the adventure of it. Not that you're going to put yourself in a dangerous situation, but you have those times. It's like, I got to figure this out. There's me and maybe one other person, and you become more dependent on God in those situations, right? Reyer, you were saying before this how much you pray when you're in the outdoors, right? And that's one thing that we always try to do before we go out is, hey, we're going to do something dangerous, whatever it might be. When you're walking around with the firearm, whether you're walking on ice, whatever you're doing in a boat, that can be dangerous things, right? And when it all comes together, it's awesome. But you can have those days where you blow out the front differential on your truck, and now what the heck do you do?
For reference, that did happen last year. That's the joke. To explain it to you guys, we were stuck at the entrance to a lake in his pickup.
We won't say what lake, but we were, yes.
About a solid 5 hours before the tow truck got there. It was a fun experience.
Were you fishing during the 5 hours?
No. Surprisingly,
Wow.
we just stayed in the truck.
Wow.
That's one of those stories. There's a lot of miracles behind. I mean, things like I never had cell phone reception on this lake ever, and that happened, and it was like and there's nobody for miles around this place, and all of a sudden my phone just starts working, and it was such a miraculous thing that, you know, reach out to people. Yep, call here, do this. Tow truck arrived with anyways. It was such an amazing thing. But that's those situations that's like, I got to figure this out. You know, how many times you've been stuck in the middle of nowhere, right? And it's like, this is me and God right now. What are we gonna do? And that's, you know, that's part of the adventure of all this stuff too.
Yeah, shooting a deer 3.6 miles from the truck this year.
Well, that was a personal choice. Not that I wouldn't have done it.
I was just kind of in a new area, and I got excited and just didn't realize quite how far in I was. But I'll be honest with you, I was praying on the way out, but I did it, you know. So
should I mention that it was a doe?
Of course.
3.5 miles. There's a lot of people that think you'd be crazy to shoot at a doe for more than half a mile from the pickup. But we've all done it. Everybody in this room.
There's nothing wrong with a
matter
doe.
to me.
Well, nothing wrong with a doe, but that far of a walk for a doe, that weeds out a few people.
She got heavy.
I would believe that.
But it was the best feeling in the world when I took that pack off at the vehicle. I was ready to go again. Actually, went and hunted more that day, trying to find my nemesis buck. So
yeah, I had about the complete opposite experience deer hunting this year. I shot mine within 500 yards of the yard. Walked through the yard, and it got foggy that morning, so after my morning sit, I didn't see anything as a glassing, so I went back and had to fix the coffee maker, get my hot chocolate. I finally got it. I was sitting on the couch just looking at my phone, and I look out the window, and there's doe stand in the yard, and I was like, here we go. She fed out a little bit, 300 yards from where I was laying on the couch, and I was cutting up a deer for the rest of the day.
Yeah, what was cool about that is every other experience that I've had with him, I've been like right there, and I was hunting with my other son, and Gentry texted me and he's like, what should I do? Should I take this deer? And I was like, well, Mom gave you a couple pointers. Don't shoot the pets in the yard. So as long as it's not the one doe, and there was 8 does with he got a talking to about that. But his cousins came over, and it was like those boys, they did everything. I came back, and it was, you know, singed, washed, cut up, deboned by the time we got back, you know, and that's the other cool thing to see when, you know, the next generation just kind of picks it up and they figure it out, right? It's super gratifying to be able to see that. And if we didn't say that, you know, this is, you know, we're father and son here, between Gentry and I, and then you guys are too here. So, you know, that's another thing that hopefully we can convey here is the unity that we get, and the different perspectives that we get of being fathers and sons in this adventure that we're going on here.
Or fathers and daughters.
Or I agree.
Wives, moms, sisters, you know, so
grandkids.
That's right. So it's I don't know, it's amazing. What is it for you? I mean,
it is an obsession to an extent. Like I definitely still,
I think everyone feels that at times.
Yeah, I definitely have some of that. Like, just really want to fill a tag at times. I as the years have gone on, I think I've been hunting like 17 years now. I think in the beginning it was very much like, you know, want to fill a tag, kind of selfishly about me, and it's becoming more the experience with family, the growth and faith every day in the woods or the prairies, as well as like just, you know, the experiences that you guys have already touched on, whether it be just kind of seeing, you know, wildlife doing its thing without being interrupted by us or subdevelopments or whatever it is. But that's grown, that appreciation and that more of like kind of less selfish love for the outdoors has grown every year, especially in the last couple of years. Definitely, partly probably because of being a father, but it's I would say it lasts to an extent throughout the season. like I feel very much like just all love and all like, I hope everybody else gets a deer, and that doesn't go away per se, but it kind of gets to be a little bit, diluted towards the end of the season when I haven't filled a tag and it's been hard hunting. Like, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
I still get really fired up. I mean, it happened this year, and, we put a lot of work in prior to the season, whether it's trail cameras and, all that kind of stuff, archery hunting, and that's just as much of kind of a faith building experience and a chance to appreciate the outdoors. But I think it compounds for me as the season goes on, and I get a little bit more, like, I don't want it to be that way, but I get a little bit more, selfish and whatnot. And it still feels really good to fill a tag. I'm not gonna lie. So
I think everyone has feelings changes as the season goes on. Whether it's like you're standing in a goose field at 4:30 and it's 10 degrees and the wind's ripping. And you got to set up decoys, and you're like, why do I do this?
Right.
Or with anything, I think there's challenges that come with it. Going back to what Matt said though, praying while hunting. I do pray while hunting a lot. There is a certain degree of it that's just like wishful thinking more than actually trying to really talk to God. Some of it's like, oh God, please, please help this deer to walk out. Please help these geese do another circle. Whatever it is. But no, I think a big part of hunting as a whole is just connecting with God, seeing His creation as it happens in action. I think that's one of the main parts of hunting for me, and I hope for everyone.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've prayed for a long time while hunting, more than I do, I guess, in my day-to-day life. But it was mostly, when it started, just mostly praying for something good to happen, like praying for a monster to walk out or something like that. And honestly, I've like this year and last year specifically, I've made a very like deliberate effort to, like, when I feel that kind of desire, not that it's wrong to do that. I mean, I think anytime you talk to God is better than
Amen.
anything, unless you're like shouting terrible things up at the sky because you're angry. That's probably not the best. But anytime you talk to God, it's a good thing. But I've just kind of tried to switch that in my mind. This especially this year, where it's been like I get that feeling of like, oh, like, please Lord, like, bring me a big buck today, or bring my dad or my sister, whoever's a big buck today. I try to just like stop myself in my tracks and be like, you know what? No, like, I'm not going to ask for that. I'm just going to ask for safety first and foremost, and just ask for, me to appreciate as much as possible whatever I'm going to experience throughout the day, whether or not, something good happens. And sometimes it's still really boring, but I have grown more of an appreciation on the day-to-day by doing that. And I think that it's helped me. I feel a lot more relaxed, like, recently when I'm hunting and stuff, rather than that, like, fired up intensity, like, clenched jaw.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it
There's
still comes at
times.
but yeah, of course. But I mean, just like on the on kind of the base level, especially during rifle season, I feel like I've just, like, my whole body's, like, tensed up all the time. And this year I felt more often than not, I felt very relaxed.
Yeah.
So that was a nice change.
Well, except for
there
was a portion. There was a portion of a day.
There's adrenaline and it's life and death, right? You're taking it serious, right? And there's something about what you get. We're talking a lot about deer hunting because we just all came out of the season, but you get one tag, right? And that's that's the cool thing about it, and how much, when that you harvest that animal and it's down and you get it all processed, how much do you sit there and go, man, I don't know about you guys, but you feel like I got really good at this. It takes me like a couple, 2-3 days to get really good at walking as quiet as I can.
I was like,
doing all
I thought
the
you were
things.
talking about hunting.
No.
So that's why I was shaking my head no, because I don't think I'll ever
Well, you got
be there,
some
but-
years on me, all right. I'll give you that.
No, I'm talking
But-
about me.
Yeah.
I'm talking about me.
But then it's like, man, I want to do this again. And then, but you can, that's part of that's going to be with your son, right? And what that's going to mean for you, and and what you guys have. That's that's such a cool thing when, but you know, sometimes, and I'm guilty of this, you can almost go the opposite. You know, you try to instill that passion in your son or whoever you're trying to teach this to, right? And it's, you know, they kind of, in a large way, they just got to discover it for themselves and experience the thing that they really love about it, right? And try not to be. That's what I tried to this year. Try not to force things and just be like a little more laid back. And I know, Gentry's probably dealt with
Was
me
he?
being.
I didn't hunt with him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
brother.
so
I
there
was
you
the
go.
one who got
He was
all of
more
that.
laid back.
Yeah, because
he wasn't with you.
Yeah,
okay, all right.
I was hunting with my other son Eli, and we had some. We'll share those stories later, but we had some, like hunting is supposed to be. We had just a gut wrenching, still amazing experience, and then we had one of the. I couldn't have drawn up a better hunt than we had this year, and that's the other thing that we're really blessed on, man. We all hunt in an amazing area of the state. That is. I mean, I've not hunted in a lot of other states, but man, I love the outdoors in North Dakota. I mean, we're so blessed with what we have here.
And if you're listening from out of state, it's not that good.
Yeah, we'll edit that out. There'll be a big long bleep in there.
Well, there's you touched on a couple of things there. You know, these guys been talking about that adrenaline rush, right? Or the frustration or the excitement or whatever. You touched on it a little bit. As soon as that animal, for me, like you're successful and that animal hits the ground, there's a minute or so of remorse. And it's not just because the hunt is over. Because for me, it's not, because I'm going to be with him or Allie or whomever, you know. But it's because you took a life, you know, and it is an animal, right? I mean, it's not a human life. I mean, let's don't go there. But it is. There's a minute of remorse because of the amount of respect that I think that the vast majority of hunters have, the outdoorsmen have, you know, because of the time and effort that they put into pursuing those animals, you know. And, you know, and you also touched on people have to find their own reason, their own way, their own passion. And probably the person who taught that to me the most was my daughter, because, you know, she's 8 years old. She wants a gun for her birthday because she wants to go deer hunting. And, of course, my wife thought I put her up to it, but after about 6 times of my daughter saying, no, I want a deer rifle because I want to go deer hunting, she did. She went. We had a very unique experience back in New Hampshire where I grew up. We went back there. The community gets together. There's a bunch of kids. It's a youth hunt. And, you know, she couldn't pull the trigger. And it wasn't frustrating for me because I saw the tear coming down her cheek, you know. But the cool thing about that is that she still wanted to go hunting.
Yep.
Right? She just didn't want to take a gun. She'd take a video camera or just go. Right? So it didn't, you know, that put that in perspective for me. And hopefully I didn't force you guys.
You didn't have to force
You
me.
didn't.
I was hooked pretty much right away.
But, yeah, I mean, it's just the reason for being out there. You know, so you touched on that. And that is a big deal because everybody's reason for being there is going to be different.
Yeah, you know, we're going to talk a lot about fishing and hunting because that's our passion in here too. But I mean, I think every one of us, I just like to walk. I mean, it can be the middle of the summer and I have some ground that man, I want to go back there just to see it in sometime that's not the fall, right? Or the winter. You know, there's so many amazing things you can see and experience out there. And, you know, like how that experience you were just sharing with your daughter, do you think some of it was because she thought you were going to be disappointed?
Oh, yeah. She told me. That's
Yeah.
what it was.
Yeah, I feel like that's a hard thing. I mean, it's different from the kids' perspective. You don't really think about it, but like I've been thinking about taking my kids hunting and stuff like that, which we got a few years to go. But I feel like it already feels easy to fall into that kind of trap of being like, oh man, I just want him to do it. So, or like playing football for my sons, like I want him to do it so bad, where I can already feel like an urge to like tell them like you gotta play, you know what I mean? Just because that would mean so much to me, and I think that's a hard thing, especially probably with dads and sons specifically. I can't really speak to the other side of it, but
Yeah.
I mean, just that dynamic of like wanting to have that aspect to your relationship, and your kid just may not take to it, and that's okay. You know what I mean? Like everybody's different, and it might be that they want to bird hunt and not deer hunt, or or they want to fish and they're just sick for that, but they don't really care for the other stuff. And that's something that I'm like already trying to wrap my head around, because I'm like, I know this is going to take like a few years. Like by the time they're going to be ready to hunt, I'll be lucky if I've actually got to the point where I'm like, I've worked through all that emotion, being like, I can let this go. But yeah, I mean, and that goes back to the kind of like letting it consume you, and I kind of have a little historical story thing that I wanted to share about kind of along those lines, and a little bit about where we kind of are thinking of taking the show. And so I'm gonna look at my notes here, but basically this is there was a guy in France in the 7th century, and he was a big hunter. His name was Hubert of Liege. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but he's a saint in the Catholic Church now. And he was a young man, just having fun, loved hunting, and went and got married. Focused a little bit more on his marriage. His wife kind of brought him a little back towards his faith. He grew up a Christian community. And he was still hunting and whatnot, and then he ended up losing his wife. And so after that, he was very angry with God, and he fell away from his faith pretty substantially, and just kind of dumped all of that emotion of any kind into hunting. And I think we've all done that, even just for a day or two, and not that that's necessarily a bad thing entirely to outlet it that way, but he just completely, abandoned the church and abandoned his faith. And as the story goes, he was out on a hunt for like a stag on a Good Friday of one year, and he ran into a priest that was doing a sermon on the way to his hunt or something like that. And they said, "Hey, like, come join us, come pray with us." And he was like, "No, I don't want anything to do with that. I'm going hunting," and that's unfortunately, it's kind of a familiar feeling. And so anyway, he goes hunting, Good Friday. He's on his horse with his bow. He was a warrior as well, and he was really talented, and he came across a stag. And as he's kind of getting ready to shoot the stag, as he told after the fact, there was a glowing crucifix that appeared between the antlers of the stag, and he heard God's voice tell him basically to turn his life around and focus back on his faith, and that if he kept doing what he had been doing, it wasn't going to end well. So basically, he got down off of his horse, and he got down on his knees in that moment, and he just started praying to God, saying, "I'll do it." Like, he was so overwhelmed by just how amazing that experience was, that miracle was that he was able to witness. And he went basically, turned on his heel and went to the church, and threw his life into the church. He became a priest. He actually, he supposedly used his skills as an archer to kind of gather crowds, and then he would preach to them, and he would share the gospel to them. And I think that can be taken as a story to say, like, church is the only thing and hunting is bad, and I don't take it that way. I mean, I think that God used his time in the outdoors to bring him back to the church. But he still continued to use those skills, and he still continued to hunt, according to the information that I was able to find. And I think it's easy to get to that point where that becomes more important, whether it's family or faith or any number of things. But also it's important to remember that, God uses everything in our life. Everything that he's given us is inherently good, and and our sin is what makes it bad, when it is bad. So hunting can be exactly that, just like anything else, or fishing or whatever it is, whether you're just really fired up about just shooting guns, like whatever it may be, if you use it to glorify God and to build your faith and grow in your faith, then it can be the most powerful thing for you or for anyone, whether it's just for you or to bring people closer to God, but also it can be something that tears your life apart, And I think that having an appropriate perspective, which may be a little bit different for everybody, but having an appropriate perspective on what you're doing, whether it's that night before opening day or something like that, or just in general, I think that's really important. And using your whatever hobby it is, even if it has nothing to do with hunting, using it as a tool to bring others to God, and bring yourself to God, and bring your family closer together. And so I don't know, that's kind of, I know we've been going around the table saying that, but I think that it's a tool for all of us, and that's part of the reason that we're here, is it's not just a hobby, but it's something that kind of ties our lives together in a lot of different ways.
Absolutely. It's the power of your testimony, right? And I think that's as much of the story of that. Was that that's the inspiration for the bottle of Jägermeister, right?
That's right. It's I don't have a picture of it right now. Maybe I can pull one up on the screen, but the stag on the bottle, I believe it's got a crucifix, kind of radiating or glowing in between it, and that's from St. Hubert. So
yeah, that's and I've heard not nearly to that detail of that account, right? And that's understanding that the power of a story, which is the power of our testimony, and how much fathers and sons and people have been sitting around for thousands of years telling stories exactly that. You wouldn't believe what just happened, right? This is one of a million. Only God, would this happen, and that's that's the power of using your testimony and the passion that God put in us, and using it for hopefully for good purposes. To your point, I think we've all gone through those stages of man, I just really want to do this. And you get real selfish, and hopefully I haven't wrecked my boys here, but I've come out of a season of especially this last year of God's been no, this isn't about you, that this is experiencing this, harvesting an animal or the first season, the opening day through them. Was probably one of the most rewarding experiences I've ever had in the outdoors, and just seeing them figure it out is an awesome experience, and one that fathers and sons and brothers and daughters and all that have been experiencing forever, right? Mm-hmm. So
you're getting old, valued. Dan.
I know.
You're starting to get to that phase. Right, we'll get into it for some other show, but the evolution
it's
of a hunter.
In between the white and the black beard, when that completely.
I'm working on the white too.
For the record, he also did not pull a tag this year, so that may have spurred him into his feeling a little bit more.
Oh, ouch!
If he would have gotten a tag, I promise you, he would have been right up.
Hey, sometimes you need a little supernatural help. You know what I mean?
Isn't it awesome? That our sons start to, we went through this. We were just constantly giving them a hard time, and then isn't it awesome when it starts coming back?
Well, we'll just mute that out later. We'll see how that goes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's just like the deer hunting thing. You're teaching your skills, and you're finally seeing them be used without your help. It's the same process. Yeah. Now we're just throwing it right back in your face. We don't need any help.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt that some of our children take things beyond what we ever had the capability.
I think they
to
picked
do,
that up from
so.
their mothers, though, is what I'm saying. Maybe we better bleep that out, too. I'm gonna be in trouble.
Nah, keep it in.
No
editor.
comment.
We need a tool time thing. Dan Holland, call him Ed. But one thing I want to add on that, because it kind of goes along with the story that Reyer just told, and we've all been touching on it. But because of my career in the outdoors, I have got to spend time taking veterans hunting, and I've got to spend time talking to others, and honestly, they come out of their service with some real struggles and have a really hard time. A lot of them bury it, and they struggle to deal with those situations. And look, I've never been to war. I've never served in the military. My dad did, and my brother. But talking with these folks and being with them, the healing power of the outdoors, right? And guess where that came from?
Yeah.
Right? It's not just the outdoors. I've literally been with individuals that couldn't be near a firearm because of the things that they had to do in service of our country. But when you took them hunting, that's the first time that they were able to do it again. And their appreciation from the outdoors is just, it'll blow your mind to hear their stories and what it means to them. And it literally changes their lives.
Well,
And
I mean,
so-
it's a different way of, I think, not speaking from my own experience. I didn't serve either, but I think that from the outside looking in, it's probably a different way of experiencing what they were fighting for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's like it's a little more upfront when you come home and you see your family and those people that you're keeping safe, and the towns and the places, the freedom that you see in a more political sense. But I think when you get to the outdoors, especially if it's maybe not something that you'd experienced before in life, to see that, and be like, man, this wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the way that kind of our nation has been structured, over the last couple centuries. It's like, man, I was kind of, might be, for some of them anyway, it might be kind of like, man, I was fighting for this and I didn't even realize it, and now I see it, So, I mean, again, I'm kind of not really an authority on this by any means, but I just think that that's something that's the way I see it, is I'm thankful for what they do, not only for protecting us being able to be safe in our homes and things like that, but also because I know that our ability to hunt and fish and whatnot is a function of the freedom that is provided by what our military does for us. So
Absolutely. Well, there's another show. It'd be really
Right,
cool
yeah,
if
right.
we could find a couple of veterans that could maybe share their experience, because that would be, we don't understand, and so hearing it from them would be awesome.
oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
I think another occupation that we all benefit a lot from is farmers and ranchers, right? And what those folks do. We get to experience just a portion of how hard they work, but when we're out hunting and you see them guys, cutting corn or they're hauling grain, or they're some of us get frustrated with, man, why is that corn still standing although the birds are in there? Well, this is their livelihood,
You didn't see his face. Sorry.
I knew it because I said it and we were on. Anyways,
Story for another time.
yeah, sorry for another time, but just being appreciative of what agriculture does for land. Being a steward, a good steward of ground. I think that's knowing a little bit of the place that you guys hunt and we're blessed to hunt. The things that they do, how hard they work, and the type of salt of the earth type of people that they are is awesome to see too. So the same thing. Shout out to the farmers and ranchers, and Because we've seen it on my in-laws' place, when agriculture wasn't really there wasn't a lot going on, and all of a sudden you have a couple of years of that ground being worked and bringing forth a bounty, and all of a sudden, man, we got pheasants and deer and ducks and all the things out there within short order. So that's another cool thing that we could have too. The being a good steward of the land isn't necessarily paying attention to the ground in the first 3 weeks of November, right? It's an all year sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and we want people to tell us too.
Yeah.
If there's something that we can cover, like I think I talked about earlier, was you don't have to have the best of the best. I know for sure that I did in Reyer, or hand-me-downs, stuff that was faded, had holes in it, hand-me-down boots and everything else, and we were able. But we also want people, we want to give them ideas about how to deal with it when the animal's down.
Yeah.
What's next?
A lot of work.
A lot of work, but one of the cool things about that, Gentry, is that at least for us, we process all of our own meat, right? And a lot of that falls on Reyer and I, just because this is kind of central location. And
Yeah.
But then when we go to do our sausages and jerkies and burgers and you name it, we do that all together as a family. My grandsons, his twin nephews, he's holding them up, they were 2. They weren't 3 yet.
Yeah.
Dropping meat into the grinder.
Yeah, 2.5. Yeah.
They thought that was the coolest thing in the world.
That won't last forever.
And I know. I know.
Come on, if there's a job in processing a deer, that's the one you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely not washing dishes afterwards. I can say that.
Cleaning up.
From experience.
Yeah, that's where I try to go run and hide, and I need to sit down because my back hurts. But, yeah, but it's everybody's part of it, right? Everybody, whether you are the ones that were out there chasing the game or, at home making sure there was a hot meal ready. So, when you got home, but we want to get into all of that, and we definitely want to bring. We need to bring Pastor Kurt in for a show, because we can give him a really hard time.
Maybe. I think everybody's got a story about Kurt. He's epic in a lot. All of our pastors are amazing here. Yeah, we got you guys getting Michael out there too. But yeah, those guys are awesome.
Yes, it would be. It would be fun. So yeah, folks, let us know.
Yeah, we're kind of on a schedule to be determined a little bit. But we're going to keep learning our way through this, and hopefully get to a point where we're doing shows a little more consistently, and maybe doing some live shows down the road, more guests and things like that. So there's a lot to be excited about for us. This is hopefully, if there's no major problems, going to be uploaded on maybe 2 different channels on YouTube. I've got my channel, Wildbound Media, and then there's I think a Club Radio channel, right?
Here for us. Yep.
And so hopefully this will be up there in some form or fashion on both of those channels. So yeah, keep an eye on us and keep tuning in. Anybody else got anything before we wrap up?
I'm all good.
We'll go off on a tangent, so we probably should wrap up,
Yeah.
because Dan's
Yeah.
gonna say something.
We'll just
and
have
I'm gonna
to-
have to give him a hard time.
We'll just have to do it like they do on the songs on the radio, where like it's not quite to the end of the song and it just trails off.
It trails
They're still singing at the end of the song. You just can't hear it anymore.
We're not gonna Midwest goodbye this. We gotta really cut it off.
No, it's good. It's good. We have a time limit. Could probably do a few episodes. Just keep on.
I don't know. I think we should all go around and tell our favorite Kurt story. Maybe that would be sweet, but I'm just kidding.
That's another show.
We should just have him in the room and not give him a microphone for that one.
Can we do that? Like, can we just not have? Can you control this?
I
mic?
could just pull it out, before it starts. I'll be like, I don't know why it's not working. That could be a fun one.
He might listen to this, so we might have just.
Kurt, if you're watching, get here.
That was a joke. Yeah, that was a joke. You'll have a
Not
Not
microphone.
really.
Mike.
Not really.
You'll
a
have a
joke.
microphone. It'll work. It'll work. I promise.
Part of the time.
So,
Anyway,
yeah.
well, Gentry, we'll keep it in the family. You want to close us out with?
Yeah. Father God, thank you for allowing us to come here today, discuss really what we want to get. I pray that this reaches the right ears. I pray that hopefully this just speaks to some people in volumes, shows them why we do this, why we chose to do this, and thank you for giving us safe traveling mercies here. I pray that we can all get home safe, and yeah.
Amen. Be
Hopefully-
safe out there, everybody.